Welcome back to Inside the Paddock. This is episode number 20. Today we'll be previewing the Italian Grand Prix at Monza. Verstappen with a chance to make history, home race for Alfa Romeo and Ferrari. Let's talk about it. Welcome back to Inside the Paddock. We are back to talk about the upcoming race at Monza this weekend. Just initial thoughts. We can kind of run through the track. Obviously, one of the fastest on the calendar, if not the fastest. And Kenji, you want to go into the other characteristics of this old circuit?
Yeah, and it's called the Temple of Speed for a reason. It's a very long main straight, very long back straight as well, very fast corners. There aren't really a lot of low-speed corners. There's just a lot of high-speed corners, Ascari. I think there's how many DR times? Two, I want to say, maybe three, including the back straight. But, downforce won't be as much of a factor on this track. It's going to be more of engine power, how fast you can go down those straights, and whether the car holds on in those high-speed corners. So, yeah, teams like Red Bull with the strong Honda power unit this year will probably benefit. With teams like Williams, as we've been mentioning for like 6 or 7 races at this point, we were looking forward to Italy as a point where they could do well. And, yeah, since their car is very slippery, they could do well here. Ferrari as well, we know back from Azerbaijan, they could do well on tracks with long straights. So, yeah, that's kind of the preview for this weekend and this track.
Yeah, and turn one, obviously that very slow speed chicane always makes for an interesting first corner to see those cars have to slow it down through there. And obviously we had the dramatic incident between Hamilton and Verstappen back in 2021 that was happened at that corner. Real quick, we got the home race for Ferrari and Alfa Romeo, and both teams will be sporting fresh liveries that Ferrari's honoring their comeback win at Le Mans this year, and then Alfa Romeo just because it's their home race. And I think they both look pretty good. What are you guys' thoughts on the new liveries?
Ferrari kind of turned that like yellow again, and for this livery, I really like it. I think it's a nice touch, and yeah, isn't it AlphaTauri's home weekend as well?
Yeah, they're in Italy.
Yeah, I guess they're based in Italy too. But I don't know if they're really going all out.
I don't think they're bringing a livery. Yeah,
I personally thought Alfa Romeo's looked pretty nice though.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, Alfa Romeo, I think they put more effort into the design of the art than the car itself. I think they should redirect some of their priorities, but it's always fun to see some new looks on the grid.
Well, yeah, I like the start.
Go ahead.
No, I just like the fact that it's the tricolor. I think it's a nice tribute to Italy as a whole and speaks to their heritage as an Italian team. But yeah, it looks very nice, very sleek, and I think both deliveries this weekend are very nice. It's not like an AlphaTauri with red livery where it just looks abhorrent. These two liveries look very nice, let's say.
And is it the last year of Alfa Romeo? I don't really understand what's going on with that team over the next few years, but the Sauber team as a whole. But if it is, I think that's a good way to go out for that manufacturer's last home race. But onto the cars themselves, we got rumors of some upgrades. Never mind. Probably some teams have upgrades. I don't.
Go for it, Kenji.
So I was going to speak to Charlie's point about, Alfa Romeo, just to go back a bit. I think they're planning to like link up with Haas for next year.
Okay.
So that'll be interesting. Yeah, but I don't know what exactly is going to happen with Alfa Romeo this year. I think if they're going to become Sauber again, or I don't think Audi is going to start though, right?
Yeah, Audi doesn't come in until
2025.
2026, I think. So
That's fair.
it's really
Yeah.
just to see if they go back to just Sauber F1 team, or if they find somebody else to be a title sponsor. I don't.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting, and then obviously AlphaTauri is getting rebranded, so could see some new like colors, new look of the grid next year, which should be interesting.
Yeah. It says that the like fashion brand Hugo Boss could be taking over as the title sponsorship for AlphaTauri, or at least they're in talks with Red Bull for it. So like not that changes the team's like performance or anything, but
That's weird.
What could change their performance is the fact that they'll be getting a lot more parts from Red Bull next year, though. I believe
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be moving their factory closer to Milton Keynes, I believe. So just to foster that greater level of cooperation, I think will be beneficial for them.
Yeah, I've been seeing things that they're trying to make their car as competitive as possible for next year, after how poor their performance has been.
Yeah, I don't know about Hugo Boss Racing though. That
The boss.
personally, I just like the car names. Like, I don't know. Like Red Bull obviously has like racing history at this point, but just at least when I first started watching, felt kind of weird seeing an energy drink company racing. But obviously they got ties with Honda and stuff. But
Yeah.
like,
Isn't AlphaTauri like a clothing brand though?
yeah, it
So
is.
it's
Yeah,
also
it's
it's
the
just
same
the same thing
Same
with
thing with
Hugo Boss.
like hat, yeah, but I don't know. AlphaTauri
Yeah,
is
I mean-
just Red Bull's like merch line, I think. But
Pretty much.
Yeah, and it's basically just saying like Alpha Bull in Italian, right?
right, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Speaking of upgrades that you touched upon, Charlie, I think McLaren is going to bring another rear wing, maybe. I don't know, for Monza that will reduce drag. So, you guys think that'll? I don't know, because we saw in Belgium, which is probably the closest. Is probably closest to what Monza would be like because of the long back straight and stuff. We saw that they struggled, but I would put that more on the fact that it rained. So how do you guys think McLaren will perform this weekend, considering the fact that they've made big steps forward within the last few races and the fact that they're bringing a different rear wing this weekend?
I mean, their problem last weekend was the strategy. So I don't think anyone should put them down as like their car going down in how competitive it is yet, especially given how bad it was last weekend based on the strategy. So I think that this is an opportunity for them to show everyone that they are there to stay in that top little circle of teams behind Red Bull, because last weekend they did the opposite. No top 5 performances, even though they were just like, it was just a bad weekend overall. And I think that this weekend, if they play their cards right, could be a big bounce back for them.
So the thing is, we know that Zandvoort and Monza are very different tracks. We know Zandvoort's very high downforce focused. We remember, though, back in Belgium, we saw Lando Norris struggling to race with other teams on the main straight. We saw how slow they were, considering that. So bringing that on as, I guess, a model for how they would perform at Monza, do you guys think they'll still be fine, I guess? Or will they still be competitive?
I think they'll still be in that fight behind Red Bull. I don't think they're going to challenge Red Bull. I don't think anyone will. But I don't know. The last time they had a competitive car and like their last win was at this track, and obviously the regulations have changed, but that car was very good in a straight line, and that's why they had good pace on Monza. I think Norris he's ever since he's got these upgrades, he's been one of the better qualifiers. Like no matter even before they got the upgrades, he's been putting it top 4 in qualifying, even if he doesn't convert it in the race. And so I think he'll be up there at least to start, and we'll see what happens in the race. Because McLaren have seemed a little bit more consistent in qualifying than teams like Mercedes, but Mercedes and Hamilton especially like keep coming back through from the back, and they always seem to catch McLaren, at least for these last few races, and have better race pace. So I think they'll be in the fight for a podium, but I don't think they're going to be like clearly the second best team like they may have been at Silverstone or Budapest.
That's fair, yeah. And another, I guess, point of interest for this weekend is, Aston Martin. I think that they're bringing in another driver to practice one. I think it's Drugovich who's going to be driving that car. How do you guys think he'll perform in that practice session? Because he'll be replacing Lance Stroll in that seat.
Yeah, I saw that, and I kind of got clickbaited by it because they said Stroll was getting replaced for the race. And then it went on to say that was not true. But yeah, Drugovich, that'll be interesting to see. It's just practice, but obviously Nick de Vries subbed in for Albon here last year and had a good race, got points. So,
Drugovich was like Formula 2 champion though, right? Or he was the champion of something, right? Maybe Formula 3, actually.
Yeah.
I think he was Formula 2 champion last year.
Yeah, I don't think he's racing
MP
right now.
No, he's not. He's a reserve driver.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it'll be interesting. But, we saw Nick de Vries, an F2 champion, F3 champion. He struggled. Although, as you mentioned, Charlie, he did get 8th in his first race. So, probably just a wait and see. But, yeah, it's good to see young talent coming through the pipeline and into Formula One.
Yeah, moving on, I guess talking about drivers being signed, we saw that Mercedes locked up both Hamilton and Russell into 2025. So unlike you've tried to tell us, Kenji, Lewis is here to stay at least for a little while longer. And then finally, I guess on to that, Aston Martin, even after all these rumors, they said that they're sticking with Stroll and that they're just rumors and they're not going to move on from him even into next year. They've got him signed into next year now. So what were y'all's initial thoughts to, I guess, all three of those headlines?
I got a link, or I got a notification from probably the same source that said Stroll was getting replaced for the race, that said Stroll was pursuing a tennis career and was leaving F1.
I saw that. Yeah.
I don't know if that was completely fake or if he actually is good at tennis, but that was one of the most interesting things I've read. Just kind of out of the blue.
Stroll denied it.
The tennis.
As far as I know, it says that Stroll brushes off tennis switch rumors. So, as far as I know, I don't think it's it's definitely not a rumor with any credibility at this point, given that he's, denied it, the team's denied it, and reaffirmed that he'll be racing next year as well. So, I think it's more, I don't think it's legitimate.
So what do we still need?
But
Wait, you can finish.
Well, I was just gonna say I think Mercedes made the wrong choice with re-signing Lewis. I think they should have brought like a Mazepin in or something.
Mazepin, okay.
Yeah, I think Lewis is just getting too old. We gotta
with the old hat.
We gotta let the young drivers come in. There's like Alonso. Alonso's hogging the seats too. I think Lewis is doing the same.
I think Russell can go to Aston Martin, replace Alonso, and then we can
Red
get
Bull.
Schumacher and Mazepin back together, the dream team.
Bring
In the Merc,
Kvyat in
in the
to the
Merc.
Red Bull.
Yeah, no, we bring Kvyat back.
He would do good in the Red Bull, I'm sure.
I'm sure that chemistry between him and Max with the same
Bring in
woman.
Bring in Vitaly Petrov to Alfa Romeo.
All right.
No, he needs to go back to Alpine. But yeah, I mean, it was a no-brainer for Mercedes, really. And, despite the fact that I tried to trick y'all, and I did get y'all with the fake Hamilton retire. What do you mean, no? Yes.
You didn't get me.
You got me.
Yeah, I did. But whatever the case is, it was a no-brainer, really. We know Lewis and George are very good drivers, and well, I say very good driver. Lewis is an 8-time world champion at this point.
Say 8.
So yeah, it was just a no-brainer. 7, whatever.
See, you know he got robbed.
No, that's fake news. But yeah, we know they're great, and yeah, it was a no-brainer, really. I keep saying it, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more interested with Stroll coming back to Aston Martin. I think it's a ridiculous move, to be honest, to be frank with you. And Aston Martin said the gap between Stroll and Alonso is small, but I don't know how you call 150-point gap small. Like that just it's ridiculous at this point. And yes, I know his dad owns the team, but if you're scoring the way that Stroll has, that's millions of dollars lost when it comes to prize money, and that's a big problem. So I think it's very foolish that Aston Martin's keeping Stroll on for another year at least.
Yeah.
But to be frank, I just don't know who would replace him.
Yeah.
Drugovich. I mean, Drugovich hasn't even raced in an F1 car yet.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the risk of it. De Vries, he was a champion other places, and then they brought him in, and he was bad. But of course, we know that in the case of De Vries, even though he was on contract, I think he was on contract for the whole season. They still just let him go because of bad performance. So who knows? Maybe that happens to Stroll. But yeah, I think just the pressure around him is going to be so great that if he doesn't perform, then I just don't see any way he's keeping this seat for a whole other year.
Yeah, I feel like with De Vries, there was like a performance clause that allowed AlphaTauri to just like exit out or terminate the contract, let's put it that way. And you would think that Aston Martin would be able to terminate whatever they had with Stroll if he's 150 points behind Alonso. So I feel like they've already considered that, and they decided that this is the path that they want to take. And I don't expect them to, if they're reaffirming their commitment to Stroll for next year as well, I don't expect them to change that opinion, especially not with Lawrence Stroll up at the top of Aston. So yeah, to be frank, I think it's unfortunate that that second seat at Aston Martin is not going to, another driver. Because to be frank, Stroll is not performing up to standard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Stroll, I kind of came into the season thinking he was kind of overhated and wasn't as bad as everyone made him out to be, but at least this year, he's been really bad. And it's just, yeah, I mean, it's going to come down to his father and whether or not he prioritizes performance or his son's like happiness. I don't know. Like they finally have a competitive car, and Stroll has had like some cars that are at least semi like midfield, and he's been on the podium and stuff, but like this is probably the best car he's ever had, and he's, what'd you say, 150 points almost behind his teammate, who's also like 44 years old. Whether or not he's a multiple-time world champion, like, still, you're getting outclassed by a significant margin.
And I feel like it's different with Red Bull because with Red Bull, I mean, goodness sakes, Max Verstappen could win the constructors by himself. But with Aston Martin, it's those points that are costing them with Mercedes, that are costing them second, that are costing them potentially third with Ferrari. Um, and that, like I said, that's millions of dollars. So, yeah, I think it's very different. I don't think Perez is necessarily at risk now, at least, but I would think Stroll, with his performances, would get kind of booted out like Gasly did a couple of years ago, but I guess not.
Yeah, I saw. So Toto Wolff said that they have the strongest pairing on the grid. And I went into the comment section, and like the second
Didn't
one
Norris put like Cap?
No, or Norris said Cap, and then like below him, someone says, "I don't know, Max and Verstappen are a pretty dangerous duo right now."
Who will win the Italian Grand Prix? A, Max Verstappen. B, Max Verstappen. Or three, or C, Max Verstappen. I mean, yeah.
Do y'all think they have the best pairing on the grid?
Who?
Mercedes.
The Merc.
No. I mean, actually, who else would be?
Perez has been pretty bad.
I think
as of late.
like maybe in a couple of years, Norris Piastri would be better. If Piastri continues to be pretty solid, because I feel like every race, either Russell or Lewis mess something up, like get knocked out in Q2, or Russell crashes, or bad strategy, which isn't their fault, I guess. But like I feel like they're always coming from behind, and into like 2/3 of the races they're coming through from some, but one of them's coming through from the back, and we see that when Hamilton does start at the front. Yeah, okay, laugh it up, buddy. The like in Canada or something, where he can just kind of stay like in second.
Yeah, that's true. And I think Piastri has had one of the more underrated drives this year as well. I think it's more out of bad luck that he hasn't got at the podium yet. His drives have, quite frankly, been phenomenal this year.
Oh yeah, I mean.
So, and I think Norris definitely alongside Max, one of the standout drivers, and at least in that McLaren as well. So.
And to do it as a
if
rookie.
there's anyone, precisely, yeah. And if there's anyone, it's gonna be them. I feel like. I mean, with Williams, sorry.
I think Mercedes is probably better than the Ferrari pairing, though. Which is also
that's true, especially Leclerc.
Equal, but I think Leclerc hasn't been that great this year.
Yeah. Maybe
not to his own fault, and Sainz is just kind of like, I don't know. He's just been consistent, but consistently kind of mid, like 5th place or so.
I feel like they have the potential to be a great duo, but something's always happening.
Yeah, it's sometimes not their fault, but
yeah.
Sainz also not the greatest qualifier. I feel like.
Yeah. True.
Well, y'all want to get into? Actually, I wanted to talk about this real quick, or just what?
Oh, Kenji's roommate is just in the background. I can see him.
Oh. Okay. So we have both AlphaTauri seats open, and then the Williams and the Alfa Romeo have won. So do we think Sargent's gone?
Frankly, not yet.
Really?
I don't. I think it'll take some more time to decide.
They held
but
up
I mean,
Latifi for.
Oh, he'll have a shot to prove something this weekend.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think James Vallis came out with a statement. He said, Sargent has to learn a bit faster. So I think they're still giving him some, I guess, slack, like some space to perform. But like I said, it'll take a couple of weeks to really see it if Sargent is really drop worthy, especially considering, like Tim mentioned, Latifi was there for 2 years. And there's a string of races where the Williams could perform quite well. So just a wait and see matter, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, but the 2 crashes obviously big financial hit for a smaller team like Williams. I heard that the crash in the race wasn't his fault. Apparently, I think some gave out. I don't know. I read something that the hydraulic issue or something, and he just couldn't turn the car. I have no idea. It made it sound like it wasn't Sargent's fault that the car that he lost control in the race. Obviously, still qualifying, but got into Q3. So like, I don't know. He's definitely last race was definitely kind of a high note for his season. But yeah, I think this race will be his best opportunity to show what he's made of.
Yeah, I mean, even like Mick Schumacher was at Haas for 2 years. So and we know how much money he wasted Haas, or not wasted, but he burned through at Haas. So I think Sargent still has some time, but he needs to step up soon and with some. He needs to put in some good results, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Obviously, the AlphaTauri team's kind of a toss-up. Well, about Joe, what do we think about him? Safe?
Alfa Romeo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Pourchaire was winning the F2 thing at the break, although only has like one win, and the other guy in second has like 4 wins. I don't really know how that series works, but I guess it's kind of a proof of his consistency. But I think Joe is a decent driver. I think, and the amount of money I'm sure he brings in from China is very important to their artwork on the car. So I think he'll be safe.
He doesn't have a lot of Instagram followers though, Charlie. Right?
I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
People of China, I'm not sure if this is accessible to you, but if it is, follow your boy on Instagram. Right?
Yeah.
Isn't Google like outlawed in like China?
I'm sure a lot of stuff
I
is.
have no idea.
Yeah, and YouTube it would be too. But anyway.
Anyway, y'all want to get onto the predictions?
Yeah.
We've got some.
Sure.
I'll start it off and say that Max is going to take his 10th in a row. There's no rain, so I don't think that would toss anything up. He's just been too dominant. In P2, I'm going to say that Perez follows him up. Just gets another solid performance. I'm going to give P3 to Alonso. He had a P2 performance. I say that he's going to keep it up. And then I'm going to give P4 and 5 to Norris and Piastri, respectively. I think that they'll both have a solid weekend. I don't think they'll get on the podium. I mean, they could, but I'm not too convinced about this weekend yet for them. And then going on to the sneaky points, I'm going to give it to Sargent. Hopefully the American can show his stuff and then get into the top 10 for the first time this year.
You want to go next, Charlie, or?
Yeah, I'll go. I'm gonna go Max P1. Break the record. Good for him. Deserves it. P2, I'm gonna go Perez. I think this is kind of a track. It's at least for qualifying. It might be kind of hard to mess it up if you got that type of car. Like a lot of it is just sticking your foot to the floor and hoping the car does it for you. So I think he should have a good qualifying performance. I think he'll be able to take second. And then third, I will go for give me Hamilton. Yeah, Hamilton. I mean, he's raced at this track a bunch of times. I think he knows what it takes to perform well here. Fourth, I'll go.
Except in 2021.
That wasn't his fault.
It was his fault. Yes, it was.
I don't know about that. Anyway, fourth I'll go with Norris, and fifth I'll go with Leclerc in fifth. Home race, they take that, I guess. And then the upset points, I'll say, I don't know how many times I've guessed the Alfa Romeo to get points, and it's probably never happened. I'll go with Bottas, I guess. Make it into the top 10 somehow. Maybe that new paint job is a little fast. I don't know.
All right. So for my top 5, I'm kind of stuck on number 1.
Really
I think
not.
there's 3 possible choices for who will win. I think it's Max Verstappen or Sergio Perez's teammate. So
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Verstappen. He won,
What about,
obviously.
what about Ricardo?
I mean, he won back in 2021. So
What about the
I
Monza
think
curse?
the Monza curve, like at turn 1.
The curse. The Monza curse.
Oh, the curves.
If
I think that's.
you win, you DNF the next race.
I think. Um, I think it's not gonna happen
Albon
unless
won.
that's the. He could do well in qualifying, to be frank. With seeing in the Netherlands, we saw they weren't supposed to do good, and he was fourth. So if he's in the top 3 in qualifying, I would say maybe a 10 or 20% chance, but that wouldn't surprise me. But I don't think he'll win, definitely. But yeah, speaking to the Monza curse, there's only so much that luck plays into this, and with how strong Max has been, I think it doesn't really apply in this situation. Kind of like, what race did he not win before? I don't think he was on the podium in Italy prior to last year. I think that's a true stat, right? So you could say that he had a curse on Monza prior to 2022 because he just didn't finish on the podium, and obviously he won last year. So, like I said, at some point the curse will be broken, and I think Max will be the guy who does it this weekend. Just considering the car. I don't know why I'm explaining this for so long, but yeah, I think Max P1, Max P1, Checo P2, because the Red Bull, we know it's extremely fast in the straight line. I wouldn't be surprised if Checo is like 4th in qualifying, but I think that car can overtake, and he has some good race pace. So yeah, Checo P2. For P3, I'm actually going to go with Leclerc because we know he does well in Italy. He won back in 2019. Obviously, he hit the wall in 2020, but that's beside the point. And we saw how good he was at Baku earlier this season, which is probably one of the tracks which is most similar to Italy. And I think he did good in Belgium earlier this year as well. So, okay, P3, hopefully he can get a podium for the Tifosi. For P4, I'm going to go Lewis. I think it's a hard pick, but yeah, I'm going to go with Lewis. And then for P5, I'm going to go with Lando. I think McLaren is fine. Yeah, I think McLaren will do good at this track as well. Maybe not challenging the top 3 teams, but yeah, I'm still a bit uncertain with Aston Martin's true pace. So yeah, I'm going to go with Norris, P5. For my sneaky points finisher, I'm going to say that Albon finishes in the top 8. As we saw, he finished in the top 8 in the Netherlands. Yes, there's accentuating circumstances surrounding that, but that was also a track we didn't expect them to do good at, and clearly they did. Albon was P4 in qualifying. He was PA in the race. Sargent was qualified where he made Q3 for the first time. So I wouldn't be surprised if he made Q3 again here in Italy, but I think Albon being PA is still a safer pick than Sargent finishing P10 at this point. So yeah, those were my very lengthy predictions and reasoning.
Well, guys,
sounds good.
Tim, I'm surprised you didn't pick a Ferrari for your top 5. What were your reasons for that?
he forgot they existed.
No. strategy and
Is it, yeah.
their luck.
And they'll just choke in front of their home crowd, probably, now that I picked them.
I would love to see them get booed. Like,
Yeah.
not a big Ferrari guy, personally. All right, guys. These episodes, these preview episodes, we don't have a whole bunch to talk about, so there are going to be a little bit more of us just kind of chatting about interesting things going on in the sport, as you would have seen if you listened to this. But yeah, we will be back after Monza to give you our recap, where we go more seriously into depth of what happened over the course of the race. But I'm looking forward to this one. I think Monza usually brings some excitement. Obviously, the 2021 race was a great one. So,
As you said that, Charlie, this race will be a stinker. Remember what you said about the Netherlands. There will be a record number of zero overtakes the whole race.
It's gonna be zero. Yeah, no, but we will watch this one and look forward to recapping it for you guys next week. Go Ferrari.